And joining us now, Peter Morici, University of Maryland economist. Peter, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, bad day on the markets yesterday, and I'm told this has something to do with the Fed and Bernanke. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the Fed, even talking about pulling back, causes a panic in the market for mortgage-backed securities, as one example. It also causes a panic in Europe regarding, say, Greek sovereign debt, Spanish sovereign debt. Those rates rose a lot. And in turn, the shakiness of both the banks in Europe and the United States. I mean, what people don't realize is that Barack Obama really didn't reform banking, and Angela Merkel really didn't straighten out the Club Med countries or their banking problems. You know, the bankers are so politically powerful that we've had sort of this charade that somehow or other the bankers have been punished for their ill deeds. But the reality is Jamie Dimon still got his job and making, 9 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures,
Yeah, and well, I mean, we see this huge drop in the market just because, as you put it, Bernanke just suggested maybe they're gonna ease back on the quantitative easing. Given that, and given how precarious the economy seems to be, how sustainable is this so-called recovery we're in the midst of?
Well, one of the things to realize is that the real economy is fairly solid. It really isn't shaky at all. And the real question is, could we sustain the real economy in the face of a mini banking crisis, not a major bank? We're not going to have the kind of crisis we had before because they're just not as overextended as they were. But we're going to have some troubles in the financial market. For example, we're going to have trouble financing home purchases. But it isn't like you won't be able to get a mortgage at all as it was before. It's going to be sort of a mini crisis. And we've lived through those kinds of things. And, given the changed nature of the economy, we might actually get through it without a recession. But you might be at zero growth. Now, from the point of view of finding a job, which is very hard now, it's going to get much worse. And it's going to be a real political problem for the president. He's probably not going to be able to get anything done for the next 3 years if that happens.
Wow.
Peter, hi, it's Carrie Pickett. About a month ago, maybe even a few weeks ago, we saw the market just go through the roof, and a number of economists, particularly coming from the Obama administration, would point to the market as if it was like saying, see, the economy's going well, we're on our way towards some great news here, and now it almost seems like the chickens have come home to roost. And why is it that we haven't really seen that translate into jobs? And why is it?
The market going up doesn't change the fundamentals of the marketplace, and that is there isn't enough demand for what Americans make so as to put them back to work. A jump in wealth has an effect on consumption, which people talk about, the stock market effect, but economists have measured it to be very small. And the other thing is, every piece of good news, the Obama White House and its economists herald as news that the sun has finally risen and everything's going to be fine and all this business. If you become a diplomat, they sort of send you to you and your wife or you and your husband. If you become an ambassador or by political appointment, they send you to charm school, okay? Mm-hmm. Where you learn how to fold your hankies and all that.
Yeah.
If you become an Obama administration economist, two things to remember is they have tended to recruit fairly facile people, and they haven't recruited the best policy minds. They just haven't, okay? And the second thing is, there's a school for used car salesmen where everything is true and the car is always a cream puff. I think they send them through that on the way between the hallowed halls of academia and that microphone in the Rose Garden.
Wait a second. You're in the hallowed halls of academia, Peter Morici. You're always eating your own there.
Well, I don't want to use the proper noun, the proper adjective, but let's just say house of ill repute. Anything that makes a liberal idea true. Like there was a great article by a guy named Frank who was trying to support Obamacare on the basis of what goes on in Europe in the Wall Street Journal, and he's at the business school at Cornell. It was the most convoluted and contorted reasoning I've ever seen because he wanted it to come out right. He wanted it to come out right. I have to tell you that my outgoing dean, for example, has some of the most peculiar ideas about economics. For example, he didn't think that the labor contract at General Motors was a problem, and he accused me of being a typical Republican, which I'm not. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent analyst. I'm just blaming the workers again for all of the troubles of the economy.
Well,
when you've got the dean of the business school saying things like that, come on.
It's not about
incredible thinking out of the place, are you?
It's not about economics. It's about political agenda, Peter Morici. Peter Morici is our guest, a University of Maryland economist. And you mentioned labor. I just want to hit on this real fast. We only got about a minute left. But the immigration bill, Kerry's been following this on a daily basis. It's really gaining steam in Capitol Hill. Paul Ryan made the comment yesterday that if we don't reform immigration, we're going to have a labor shortage in the coming years. Is that a real concern?
Actually, we're going to have a labor shortage in some areas in the coming years with or without an immigration bill. For example, the supply of Mexican farm workers is going away no matter what we do. But no, without an immigration bill, or with an immigration bill, we're still going to have too many unskilled workers in the economy overall, maybe not lettuce pickers. And they're going to have to automate lettuce picking, and they're already starting to do it. Because it's really not going to solve the border problem. You can build a 100-mile-high fence and put all the guards in the world that you want there, but unless you have internal security, and by that I mean requiring citizenship to get a driver's license, and requiring state governments and the schools and so forth to report illegals when they come in and register kids or get stopped and so forth, I mean, people will get around that fence one way or another. And so, if you're going to allow them to move around the country, you really are not going to have border security. This is all a charade. At the end of the day, let's face it, do you honestly think Barack Obama is going to enforce the border? He hasn't enforced it while he's been in. Basically,
right.
he deports criminals but lets everybody else come through. I've got a better suggestion. Let's save us some money. Let's really have internal security, which the Democrats don't want. But we'll offer them something for it. Let's allow them to bus in on Election Day 50,000 Mexicans to vote for whomever Democrat they want. We'll give them 50,000 votes.
They'll give them the votes, yes. Spot them the lead, right.
Peter, real quick, CBO's score that came out for the immigration bill, they're saying that it's going to save money. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's a lot of nonsense. They're presuming a labor shortage without it, and as a consequence, that would permit the economy to grow. If we had 50,000 more immigrants in the country tomorrow, 200,000, 500,000, would the economy be growing any faster? I think not. Also, a lot of those work visas for highly skilled people are just ways around hiring Americans. Look at academia.
All right, Peter.
This is just crazy. It's just all a lot of sophistry going on up there.
We got in Congress. Peter Morici, always great to have you. Thank you so much for joining us, University of Maryland economist Peter Morici. Have a great weekend.